ZumiLink is the hub for connecting you to the larger Air Force Academy graduate community. See how your fellow graduates are already gathering online to discuss, advise, and serve. Connect with graduates at all stages of life and start a conversation about careers, transition tips, and preparing for your future. And with ZumiLink now open to all current Academy cadets, the time for connecting to the graduate community is more important than ever. Sign up at zumilink.org and start connecting today. Brought to you by the Association of Graduates and the Air Force Academy Foundation.
Good evening, parents of the class of 2022, and thank you for joining us this evening. I'm C1C Reginald Maffitt, and I have the honor of serving as our class president. Tonight, we'll be answering your questions about graduation week and all the events that make up this exciting week. While we understand most of your questions are specifically interested in graduation day itself, I would like to introduce our graduating officer in charge, Lieutenant Colonel Taryn Wellman, who will be answering questions with me tonight. Good evening, Lieutenant Colonel Wellman.
Hi, Reggie, and thank you so much for being here. I know the parents out there really appreciate you being on screen with them tonight and helping to answer their questions, and representing the class of 2022, more importantly. So as Reggie mentioned, I'm the grad lead this year for graduation. I'm also a member of the faculty here at USAFA and a graduate from the class of 2006. And so in that vein, graduation would not be possible, I have to mention, without the hard work of a team of about 180 professionals behind the scenes, making sure everything is executed to a T. So we're here to talk about the exciting events that make up graduation week and share that team's message with you tonight. They've been putting in a lot of hard work to make sure that we've got a graduation experience for our families and guests that's one to remember and really honors your cadets as they graduate and head off into the Air Force. So I want to start by just giving a brief overview of what comprises graduation week, what we call it here. And really that starts with that Monday before graduation. So Monday, May 23rd is what we call Awards Day. And so it's a series of different awards events that your cadet may be basically recognized for all the exceptional work that they did while they were here over 4 years. Military proficiency, leadership, physical education, and of course academics. So it's a number of different award ceremonies, most of which are an invitation-only basis. For the award recipients or members of an academic department, for example. But there's one event in the middle of the day at 11 o'clock, the graduation awards ceremony. That's a large event that most likely all graduates will be expected to attend. And guests, of course, would be welcome. So in addition to awards day that Monday, then Tuesday, we go into the parade in the morning, followed by a series of commissioning ceremonies that are run by the squadrons at various locations, kind of staggered throughout the day. Again, your cadet will have details, your graduate will have details about their specific squadron's commissioning ceremony. And that's really a formal event, suit and tie. Some are into the evening, and it really depends on the squadron style and how they are executing that event. And then that leads us into May 25th, graduation day, the day that you guys are probably the most excited about. And this is the large graduation large graduation ceremony in Falcon Stadium. So there's a guest speaker. We're anticipating upwards of 20,000 guests in attendance this year. It begins at 9:30 in the morning, and we always ask parents and families to arrive early. So please make sure you get there early. And this year we even have some entertainment in the stadium to bring you in at 7:45 as the first cadet performance group that's kicking off with the Honor Guard. So that's May 25th on Wednesday, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that throughout the evening tonight.
Alrighty. We will begin by answering some of the questions that have been submitted to us already. So, the first question for this evening will be, what is the process for those who have family members requiring handicap access?
Such a wonderful question, and I know many graduates have these considerations in their guests. So number one, the biggest thing that you can do to help us out is to bring your handicap placards. So in order to get parking that's close to the different events, you only will be able to do that if you bring a handicap placard. That's step one. Number two, we have the ability to consider some of these mobility restrictions and ADA access needs, but we've asked our graduates to tell us in advance what those needs are. So there's been a survey that your graduate has had since March 14th, where we've asked them to fill it out. I just got done talking to Reggie before the call, and we're at like just over 600 out of 1,000 grads, and they need to fill it out by tomorrow. So if that means you checking in with your grad tonight and asking, did you fill out the survey to tell them about Uncle so-and-so or cousin so-and-so that has a restriction where they have to sit in the front row at Falcon Stadium because they can't bend their leg, or grandma and grandpa who can't go up and down lots of stairs. We've asked them for that information. So please make sure you get with your graduates so we can make those accommodations in the seating that's going to happen at Falcon Stadium.
Awesome. Our next question will be, will general admission tickets be available this year for graduation?
Yeah, so unfortunately, no, we're not releasing general admission tickets. We've told our graduates that you can have up to 20 tickets per graduate in Falcon Stadium, and that will be the footprint this year. I can't speak to future years, but that is for a number of reasons, one of which is we're still having a graduation in a COVID environment. And so there's a number of planning factors that go into play there. In addition, we want to maximize the experience for every graduate, and we have over 1,000 of them. And so for that reason, we are trying to preserve some space and not making tickets available to the general public. We've also asked that our graduates not swap tickets this year or trade off additional tickets. We've asked them just ask what you need, ask for what you need, and then take that many tickets, and they'll be distributed electronically to our graduates.
Great. Our next question is a multi-part question, so I'll take it down in different pieces. So the first part of the question is there the possibility that we will be able to get more than 20 tickets for graduation? Next, we have, will we be able to have more tickets for the parade? And then lastly, is there flexibility in who can attend the parade, in the number of people who can attend the parade and graduation? Can we use extra tickets other families may not be using? So I'll take the first part, and then, ma'am, you can back me up if you like. So we are asking cadets only to take the number of tickets that they need. And this is the same for 6 wristbands for graduation. So for the parade, graduation parade. So for graduation day, there's only going to be a max of 20 tickets that cadets can take. And we're requesting that they take only the number of tickets that they need for people who are going to be attending the graduation. And then for the parade, there will be wristbands. And the max number of wristbands that each cadet gets is 6 wristbands for the parade. Yeah. Ma'am, did I cover that?
100%, Reggie. Thank you. And I'll add a little bit more to this. Historically, we've not really limited the parade. And the parade is, again, the morning before graduation day. So on the 24th of May, that Tuesday, it has been unlimited. But what that meant was we had families oftentimes that would arrive very, very early and have lots and lots of family members in the stands. And so that would leave some of our graduates whose family members and guests aren't able to get up that early and be there for as many hours in the stands, not get a seat. And so we had a safety concern with that. And we truly just looked at our stands and said, what can we really fit? And what we can fit safely is 6 per graduate. And so that will be a wristband basis. Your graduate will get 6 wristbands or up to 6 wristbands. We're asking, again, just take what you need. And so that's what you can expect. And there's not going to be an ability to exceed that number beyond what that limit is. Similar to graduation, it's just the distribution of tickets in Falcon Stadium will be a little bit different. It'll be your graduate telling us through the system how many electronic tickets they need, and then those will be distributed directly to your graduate to then further distribute to you.
Perfect. Our next question will be, will there be any COVID restrictions in place?
Yeah, excellent question. So as COVID restrictions become clear as we get closer, we absolutely will push this information out to you. Right now, what you can count on is for indoor events, almost certainly we'll have to wear a mask. So mask protocol will be in place. You can also count on our receptions where we have food and drinks following an award ceremony, for example, or even commissioning. We'll have some smart COVID practices in place to try to minimize spread. And so we're taking every precaution that we can in the environment that we're operating in. So we just ask for your patience with that. And we're going to 100% comply with any federal, state, local, or DoD requirements as they arise. So flexibility here is also appreciated. I think right now I'll take the opportunity to say, the elephant in the room and the question is whether it's going to be mandatory to be vaccinated for events. I cannot answer that question at this moment because we are subject to federal, state, local, and DoD guidelines. What I can say is that we might expect that some events where it's not maybe outdoors, where there might be some additional COVID mitigation practices in place where you could show a negative result or a vaccination card or a form that shows that you've vaccinated. And that information we just don't have the finality on at this moment. So if you were on the fence about getting vaccinated, perhaps that's the push that you needed. I don't know. Everyone's going to make their own decision with regard to that. Right now, we can just say we will comply with DoD, federal, state, and local guidelines. And right now, I can't answer with finality on that question. But thank you for that question.
Yes, ma'am. Our next question is, what are the age requirements for tickets? Do children under 5 need a ticket? So, ma'am, I'll take this one. So what we're doing for graduation and the parade ceremony is we're going to apply airline rules. Essentially, if you need a seat, you need a ticket. So kids who are under the age of 2 who can sit in laps are not required to get a ticket or do not need a ticket for either graduation or the parade.
Yeah, 100%. So if they can be a lap baby or if they can be a lap toddler, then they don't need a ticket. Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. So our next question is, how do we receive tickets to graduation? Are they hard copy or electronic?
Yeah, so we kind of spoke to this a little bit earlier. This year, we're going full electronic ticketing. We did this last year as well, but just keeping with the times and faster delivery. Our hope and our data is that you'll get into the stadium faster. And at the end of the day, what we all want is to make sure every guest that's invited gets to get into the stadium before the doors close at the start of the ceremony at 9:30. So digital ticketing is a part of that equation. So what that means is a digital ticket delivery system where your cadet's going to indicate how many of those 20 tickets they want, and then it'll be delivered to the cadet, to the graduate directly to further distribute with an email address. So what does that mean? Does grandma and grandpa, do they need to have their smartphone and the ability to individually scan their ticket? Not necessarily. So if you're a little bit more savvy with a smartphone and your graduate wants to deliver all 20 of their tickets directly to mom can then enter with whoever she needs to scan those tickets or further distribute those via email to the rest of the family unit or guests. And so that's the delivery system. We hope it eases things with our scanners at the gates, and I hope that you experience that as well.
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, I can add something to that as well. When we have a lot of people, roughly about 20,000 people at the stadium, the cell phone reception is not that good. So my advice will be make sure that you have your tickets somewhere where you don't need to use your internet. So maybe take a screenshot or something of that nature where you won't be out there trying to hook onto the internet because it more than likely won't load. Just the way it is at the stadium. So our next. Absolutely.
Oh, and if I could, Reggie, I'll just tack onto that even more. Some of you are grads out there, and remember that paper ticket, and you might even have it somewhere stuffed in a box or framed, or I don't know. All of the grads are going to be getting a souvenir ticket, so a single paper ticket so that they can put it in their scrapbook, they can hold on to it in perpetuity, so we haven't lost that completely, but we will be going to digital ticketing for the future.
Alrighty. So our next question will be: Are families required to enter the events together at the same time? So, essentially, for the graduation ceremony and the parade, if they have a ticket or a wristband in their possession, then they don't need to enter it at the same time. However, for graduation, like we said, we're using electronic ticketing. So, if all the tickets are on one person's device, you have to enter with that person because you don't have a ticket in your possession. But if you do have a ticket in your possession where you can show at the gate, then you can enter at different times. And then also for the graduation parade, it's going to be a simple wristband system. So if you have a wristband, you're good to go. You don't have to enter it. But if someone else is holding all your wristbands until you get there, then obviously you'll have to enter together or at least get the wristband before you choose to enter. So that's the answer for those two. Now, for the other events that are taking place that week, simply put, any award ceremony or commissioning ceremonies happening within the black gates of the cadet area will need to have a cadet escort. Now, I've done it in years past where if your cadet is not necessarily available to escort you the moment you get there, I recommend that they reach out to another cadet, maybe a lower classman, one of the lower three, and request that they escort you until they can meet up with you guys at whatever ceremony or event you're taking part in. So if you talk to them about the black gates and escorting requirements, your cadet will know what the rules and regulations are for that. So simply put, graduation and parade, you'll need those tickets or wristband in your possession to enter, and anything within the black gates of the cadet area, you will need to be escorted. And this kind of leads me on to my next question. Is the seating in Falcon Stadium assigned, or is it first come, first served? Given that you guys will be given tickets for graduation day, the seating is assigned to keep family units together. So it's not based off of merit or anything like that. It's just kind of randomly generated in terms of what family unit sits where. But I can attest all the seatings are pretty great because I've sat in pretty much most of the areas in the stadium. So it'll be great. Ma'am, did I touch on that?
No, it's perfect. And the way that the seating will be arranged, as Reggie mentioned, not on merit, but you can pretty much count on the families and guests of a particular cadet squadron will be grouped together in approximately the same section in the stadium. What does that mean for our mobility guests or wheelchair guests? Every section of the stadium just about has wheelchair seating. And so if your grad has told us that they have a family member that's in a wheelchair, we can pull that person out of the family unit and put it at the top of that section along with a companion. There's a companion seat next to each wheelchair seat so that they can be approximately, near the rest of the family unit. But that's vital information for us to have so we get the ticketing right for your group.
Awesome. Our next question is, will there be food and drinks available at graduation? Simply put, yes. Much like a football game, concession stands will be open for food and drinks. And we also, there also, like we mentioned earlier, will be pre-ceremony entertainment, which kicks off at 7:45 or 7:45 a.m. With the honor guard. So, we highly encourage you all to get there early to enjoy the pre-ceremony events and partake in some concession stands. I know for sure I'll be there early, but I don't want to miss out on anything that's happening that day. So,
Reggie, you'll have to. I'm glad that you went down this road so you can share this with the families. You'll have to be there that early.
Yes, ma'am.
So one of those considerations, thanks, Reggie, for that teeing up. One of those considerations is that your grads, we want to save every single parking spot we can for you guys, for the guests, so that we can minimize how many guests have to be shuttled for overflow parking. What does this practically mean for your planning for that morning? There's a small number of our guests that are just not going to fit in the parking because of the operational needs of the Thunderbirds in order to have an air show. And so about 2,000 guests will have to be shuttled if they arrive and the parking is full. So I really want to encourage is get there early so you're not in that 2,000 and potentially risk not making it to the gates in time to get let in at 9:30. And so the gates will close at 9:30 and they won't reopen until about 10 to 15 minutes after the air show is over at the end of the ceremony. So please don't take that risk. So we've got lined up for you some exciting cadet performances. As Reggie mentioned, 7:45, the honor guard. And we're going to have graduates in these performance groups. So seniors that have been on honor guard are going to get to perform in front of 20,000 folks in the stands, which is really exciting. Then right after honor guard, we kick off with the cadet chorale. And I have not had, I have not been as moved by performance as I have by the cadet chorale recently. And so I really encourage you, come out there, listen to the beautiful voices of one of our singing groups. That starts at 8 o'clock, followed by a saber drill, a short saber drill performance between the chorale and the next singing group. And the last one to round out the performances, and they'll all be over by about 8:40, is In the Stairwell. And In the Stairwell is of America's Got Talent fame a few years back, but they'll be out there performing as well. So seniors graduates will get to actually perform for a packed stadium, which is going to be really exciting for them and exciting for you, hopefully. So come early, listen to the performances, and don't take that risk.
Absolutely. Our next question is, will kids be allowed to go on the field to retrieve wheel caps after their graduation? So yes, the tradition has returned. Kids ages 7 through 10 will get a chance to retrieve hats on the stadium floor after the graduation ceremony. So we highly encourage kids to go out there, and then we'll put some special things in the wheel caps to make sure they're well compensated for their duties. So.
Yeah, and there will be some specific directions over the intercom for families so that you know when your child can go and assemble at the south part of the stadium. And then they'll get to go out onto the field, and then they'll return to that same spot. So one parent will have to go stay in that spot to retrieve the kiddos to get back to the stands. So when you actually get to interact with your graduate, the graduates are going to be celebrating on the field, right? And they're going to do that for a little bit of time, and then the air show kicks off. And at some point during the air show, graduates start to trickle up into the stands and join you. But families will not be going down onto the field. And so that's generally how it progresses. And then, as I mentioned, the gates will be reopened after the air show concludes. And so just stay in your seats, enjoy the air show, enjoy the pomp and circumstance and the festivities. And that's probably the most exciting time of the entire ceremony.
Absolutely. Our next question is it really a 4-hour wait to exit graduation, and why?
Yeah, I don't know what year this question may have originated out of. I promise you, if I've done my job, it will not be a 4-hour experience to get out of the stadium. And it's because we have professionals that are wonderful in the supporting organizations that make graduation happen. I did mention that there's going to be some overflow parking. And what that means is when you arrive, you'll be routed a different way and then have to park and then be shuttled down to the stadium. And so that's those same folks that needed to be shuttled down to the stadium will need to be shuttled back to their cars and then exit that way. And so you can anticipate a bit longer of an egress or exit from USAFA if you're in that last 2,000. But otherwise, you can expect somewhere between 30 to 60 minutes. When you have a mass of 20,000 people exiting at the same time, it tends to be a little bit slower, but it will not be 4 hours. Hopefully it doesn't come to even an hour. What I will say, though, is the graduates are not going to be able to park their cars in order to preserve those parking spots for you. So they'll be bussed down from the cadet area and then bussed back to the cadet area afterwards. And so they have some important out processing actions to take care of before they're allowed to be done and get to leave and rejoin you and celebrate. And so just be patient with your graduates as well. They have to go back to the hill and they have to do some important out processing actions. And so that might be upwards of 4 hours in order to get through all of that for your graduates, but not for you. Yeah, thanks, Reggie.
Absolutely. Our next question is, where can I find a schedule? Where can I find the full schedule of events? So if you go to usafa.edu, usafa.edu, and click on the graduation tab, it will give you a full rundown of the events that are scheduled for graduation week. And it will give you a brief description of what each one is as well. So once again, that's usafa, usafa.edu, and click on the graduation link. It's also at the bottom of your screen going across right now. So our next question is, will cars be able to drop off guests and leave base to get others in return?
Yeah, so the answer on this is once you come onto the base, it is one-way flow, and you will not be able to go back out. And so you'll want to plan for sufficient cars to get everybody to Falcon Stadium, but you also want to carpool. And the reason is that minimizes how many guests actually have to be shuttled to overflow parking. So strongly recommend, one, know that you can't go back out and get more people. And two, try to pack those cars and carpool as much as possible amongst your family unit up to Falcon Stadium, which also means that the graduates afterwards are probably going to be bussed back to the hill as opposed to jumping in your car. So just some things to plan for that post-graduation party, whatever it is that you might be hosting for your graduate. Just anticipate those timelines and those actions they're going to have to take. And then I just can't stress enough that, if you're trying to enter the gates of USAFA, north or south gate, and it's past 8:30 in the morning that day, you're risking whether or not you're going to be able to get in by 9:30. And the reason for that is that it's going to take longer for those last couple thousand to get bused down to the stadium. So please try to arrive. Get there before 7:45 to watch the entertainment. Don't cut it close on that 8:30 timeline. I really recommend it. Otherwise, you might miss the whole thing. And that would be, it is live streamed, but who wants to go all this way and then not be able to actually participate in person?
Absolutely. And our last question that was submitted is, what is the recommended attire for graduation? So simply put, this is business casual is the default. However, smart business casual with layers and comfortable shoes. So in Colorado, the weather can go from being around 30 in the morning to 85 in the afternoon. So given that this is a longer event, we do recommend that you dress in layers so that way you can take off or add on if needed, depending on how the weather shakes out that day. So yes.
Excellent.
Alrighty.
I think we have one more question that was kind of added. Two more questions here. You can drop questions into the chat, and we'll hopefully be able to answer them in real time here. But one of the questions that was posed: will the graduation parade and graduation ceremony be recorded and available after both events? We can let you know that right now, absolutely, graduation commencement is live streamed. It's going to be, I believe, a YouTube link like last year, but we've got that in place, and you can count on being able to watch it as it's occurring. The parade, we've never had to live stream it before, so we're working through options here, whether that's even possible, whether we have the infrastructure here in place. We get support on the commencement side from another unit, but we don't have it, the organic capability. So we're working through whether it's going to be a live stream, whether it'll be recorded. If there's a way that we can make that experience available to more than 6 guests that attend. So just know that the team is working on that, and we'll be able to post that information once we have it and can make it available to you. And Reggie, I think there's another one.
Yes, ma'am. The next question is, who will be the graduation speaker this year? So I can kind of touch on this. There usually is an official announcement, so we haven't yet seen that official announcement. Ma'am, am I?
No, you're 100% on track.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. So we haven't seen an official announcement. There usually is a rotation. So, I mean, there's speculation going around in our class of who it might be, but I won't say that now. But as of now, we haven't seen an official announcement. So once we get that, we'll be able to release it. Is that okay, ma'am?
100%. Yeah. As soon as it's official, we'll let you all know. And then I think there was one additional question that's kind of been coming up is, and I know we've touched on it a couple times, if somebody's only asking for 15 tickets and somebody else needs 25, can I just link up? We are asking that cadets take what they need with regard to the number of tickets they need for both events. So your understanding on that is much appreciated. And so thank you in advance for helping your cadet do the right thing with regard to following those instructions. And maybe I can't speak to future years. That might not be the same concern in future years, but right now in the environment we're working in, that's what we're asking our graduates to do.
All righty. Well, looks like that's all the questions, ma'am. Once again, thank you for joining us this evening. Really means a lot. And I can attest on behalf of the class of 22 and your cadets that we are counting on the days till graduation, and we really look forward to. We've been working on this for 4 or 5, and even one individual, even 6 years to reach this day. So it definitely means a lot. Lastly, on behalf of the Association of Graduates in your United States Air Force Academy, thank you for attending tonight's presentation. Have a great Air Force night.